Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and I'm with John Fitch. This is Mixed Martial Mindset, and I just want to let everybody know that we actually are going to have two more broadcasts tonight. I'm going to have Clay Clark on. I'm going to be attending both his podcast event coming up in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, and I'm also going to be going to South Carolina in May and speaking at the Reawaken Americas tour. I'm going to give him a whole lot of transhumanism, a whole lot of Musk facts today, and of course, we're also going to give him a whole bunch of Dennis Bushnell as well. John Fitch is with me. Now, I know a lot of you guys have wondered why I have not been pumping out the stuff. I mentioned some medical stuff on one of the broadcasts. I said I had something coming up on Friday. Well, I got those results. Now, let's start it with the fact that I've been not able to, like, walk the same way. I know that sounds crazy, right? You wake up one day, and all of a sudden, your balance is gone, right? I woke up one night after all this eye stuff that I did talk about. Everybody's been asking me if I need glasses, right? All of a sudden, it is not that. My vision in this eye is actually totally perfect, and my I passed the visual field test even with this eye. It is a weird distortion. So then my vestibular system goes out of whack. After the first time that I felt my balance was off, when I laid down and put my legs up, all of a sudden I thought, wow, I'm spinning all over the place. I've never felt like this in my life. I can only equate it to either getting hit very hard and losing your complete equilibrium and the whole world spins and then getting it back a little bit, or being really wasted and having that happen until you kind of concentrate. So obviously those aren't good things, and I went and saw a doctor and got an MRI. Now the good news is I don't have brain cancer. Okay, that's the first thing they tell me. I don't have brain cancer and I don't have a tumor. The next thing they tell me is that I have what's known probable, and it's almost an inch, it's 2.1 centimeters, a cholesterol granuloma. So when I start looking into this, there's not a lot of literature on it, okay? Even the doctor kind of had to look it up, and there are two surgeries. I have no idea what my options are going to be. I'm seeing a neurologist tomorrow. I just want to clear all this up with everybody, first before we get going, because obviously I've had less than 3 hours to think about all this stuff and look it up and see, hey, I've always said no one's drilling into my fucking head, John. That's zero. No matter what, that's not happening.
No chance.
Yeah, there's zero chance of that. Now, some people in their literature, they call it a benign tumor. Now, that was not what was discussed with me today. We'll see what the neurologist says today or tomorrow. They say a cyst, basically, and there is no quote-unquote known cause. Now, they've said there's theories on inner ear infections that are continual. I just want to let everybody know I have no inner ear infections. They ruled that out through several doctors almost immediately. I've never had an inner ear infection in my life. So that is probably not the cause, even though that is the literature. I'm going to be, obviously sharing these scans with other medical professionals I know, and nothing's changing. If I'm not on all the time...
You're allowed to get a second opinion?
I already have. So that's the whole thing. So,
no, but I mean, for this medical condition, you're allowed to get a second opinion.
it's crazy, right? I'm getting multiple. I had blood work done today on top of everything. I already
get shamed by your doctor.
Well, you know what?
This is the science.
Here's the thing.
Believe in the science. What do you need a second opinion for?
It's so frustrating in this day and age that, first of all the big places that I go to, you have to still wear a mask, right? Even the place I went to today that was small, and I actually appreciate what they do and definitely are pushing mainline stuff and whatever, I had to wear a mask. And I'm sitting across from this medical professional, and we're both wearing masks, and I feel like we're playing pretend. And that's not a good sign, right?
Well, it is, because I recently, in the last few weeks, have taken my kids to the dentist. And they had to wear a mask, but they also went to a birthday party at a indoor trampoline jumpy place. Nobody had to wear a mask. Kids running all over, coughing on each other. They went to a rock climbing place, and masks were optional there also. People really close to each other, close proximity. And then they went to their kid doctor, and no masks. But she's old school, like Russian lady.
It's the craziest thing, right? And now that, again, it's frustrating because the one place I went to get my blood drawn earlier in the week, right, where totally separate, even though I got lab work done today that I'm going to get today. Actually, the lab place literally is walkable, John. So they tell me I get lab work. Not only is it walkable, but again, I'm going to get it today, okay? But I got lab work done already. That's the place I felt most comfortable because when I walked in, there was a friendly receptionist. There wasn't any fear. There was a delivery maintenance guy there. Everybody was smiling. Everybody was happy. You know what I mean? That's, to me, right there, I'm going to have to take note of what they say. Now, one of the things that they tested me for today, because I take a lot of supplements, right? Vitamin D being one of them. I take quite a bit of vitamin D because there's also studies that it's good for your prostate as you age. There's a lot of studies. They tested me not only for inflammation, but apparently for vitamin D toxicity. Now, I don't know that you can really go toxic on vitamin D. Maybe you can. I'm no doctor, guys. You tell me what you guys think out there. If you are a medical professional, if you've seen negative effects from a multitude of, especially because, look, I'm not out in the sunshine doing this, John. my job is not like a body, indoors. Yeah, I'm not on a beach. So I know I look dark, guys, but underneath I get whiter and whiter as we go down because I get less and less sun. I take in sun great, but I'm doing this. So we'll see. You know what I mean? What's your experience? Who do you trust right now? I mean, especially in the medical profession.
You got to have a doctor you've known or gone to for a long time, and then just where you need to let your body be how it's supposed to operate, which means you need to cut the bullshit out of your food. You need to start doing some resistance training. Everybody needs everybody. It's a big way to help prevent a lot of issues, is to keep active, keep the blood flowing, keep your flexibility, your movement. You don't have to be a fitness model, but people should be much more serious about what they're eating and what their workouts are looking like. Well, activity levels.
One of the things,
we know this. We know it. Yeah. Like we've went down that road of people overdoing video games and screen time and whatever. And we've seen the damage it's done. We know. We understand what it's doing to people's health and their body fat compositions. And it's bad. It's really bad. And if you don't do something about it, if you don't making corrections, you're going to suffer. You're going to have medical issues. Everybody needs to take time out of the schedule and take care of their bodies as much as they, brush their teeth or comb their hair, wash their ass. It needs to be relatively consistent, even if it's a small thing. You don't have to go into a big, expensive corporate gym. You can do resistance band training at your house while you're brushing your teeth. You can do free squats and put on your deodorant, whatever. You can save time and do things at the same time, whatever. But you got to be active.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Who knows where this came from? Again, there's no diagnosis. I just want to say that, guys, again, there's really no diagnosis of why this happened. This isn't like, a type of cancer even, apparently. So we'll see. The other out is apparently then going through my nose with the scope and literally scrape. It's not growing on my brain. It is on my skull, actually. Okay? And it is on my skull next to my inner ear. That's why I'm having these problems. So towards the middle.
On it.
What's that?
It's getting bigger and putting pressure on it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, because it has to be growing. If it's as big as it is now, it didn't just start that way, right? Mm-hmm. So, look, I'm gonna try to change I'm gonna change the diet. We're doing just meat and vegetables and water from today on. This is it. And on top of that, I'm probably gonna do fenbenzidol on top of everything else I'm taking. And people will ask me why I'm doing that. I'll just say the Joe Tippins treatment has worked for other people with numerous types of cancers. I'm not a doctor. Again, you can look at those stories. That's what Joe Tippins claims for him, and the doctors that have worked with him, they've talked about a lot of success with that. And look, they'll tell you it's not cancer, but how much do they know? It's in my fucking head. Right? I had I had to get an MRI just to show this thing in the first place. I've already gotten the x-ray behind the eye, and the eye was okay. And this is, again, inflamed and pushing against my brain, obviously causing some bad shit to happen and my inner ear. So look, guys, I'm going to give you updates when I know it, but I'll tell you right now, unless all of a sudden I'm on the ground spinning all the time, I don't even know that I'm considering surgery, and then I don't even know what the fucking costs are. So that's another thing. I mean, we could be talking about a 6-figure surgery. I don't know. And if it is, I know a lot of you guys would be there for me, and I appreciate it, but it's a lot to think about. And especially, again, because whether I like it or not, I've got to change my lifestyle from today, right? This isn't like an infection. This isn't something antibiotics are going to take care of. And like John said, the best way to fight anything is through a good immune system, and the best way to do that is exercise and health, period. What you're eating, what you're putting in your body.
Diet, exercise, get it done.
All right, I hate to be a bummer in the beginning of this broadcast. We are going to be uncensored over at the Rockfin later, but we got a lot of stories to talk about. I do want to say that we are also live over at the Beanery, so we are there. You can actually call in if you're on the Podbean. We had a couple callers last time. We'll probably go to you in the last 20 minutes or so. Over at Odyssey, I want to thank them for backing on my YouTube channel. Who knows, how much longer I'll have YouTube. I've been skating it pretty good though. I got to tell you, I know you retweeted the Hunter Biden video. Of course, we couldn't show everything on that and had to do it on Rockfin as well. But look, all my stuff is also over on Twitter, guys. And that's where you can find links to everything, including my documentary films that are free: Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture. I would advise everybody to read those. JohnFitch.net is where you find everything, Fitch. Fitch, what have you been up to? I know you got a John Fitch Knows Nothing last night.
Yep, and John Fitch Knows Nothing last night. We talked fights. There's some bare knuckle fights on Friday night, and we got to see some pretty good fights on UFC on Saturday.
I agree. I saw some of those bare knuckles, by the way. I didn't catch all of them because I was also watching PFL at the time. But I did catch some of those. Look, man, I'll tell you what, they had a pack. I caught the co-main and the main. And the bottom line is they have a packed house now. They got a home where they can put 10,000 people, and they're making some pay-per-views, even though they're at $19.99. They're growing. Something I remember you scoffed at in the beginning. It was just too much cockfighting. It has gotten its nuance. It's a good place for people to.
Well, I'm starting to appreciate the sporting aspect of the bare knuckle approach, because they're 5 2-minute rounds. So these guys have very short time to get things done. So it's a lot of heavy action, and you don't really need. I talked about this last night. You don't need a ton of cardio to be able to do 5 2-minute sprints. I'm an old man, and I could step out of the garage right now, take off my shirt, and give you 5 2-minute rounds pretty damn good, So these guys have that little bit of an advantage of, it's hard to get too gassed out. You don't have that 5-minute round to worry about. Even a 3-minute round can get long. So they've got that nuance. They've got the ability to hold and hit a little bit, which is nice, because then it takes away.
You get the half cup right there. You can cup. I like that.
It takes away. Well, it takes away as long as one guy is hitting.
Yeah,
they'll let it go, right? So it takes away the ability of one guy to hold on to somebody and stall the fight out, because the other guy can just keep rabbit punching while the other guy's got a bear hug, and as long as he's doing that, he can do that. And those bare knuckles in the temples and in the face from short range, they'll still add up. They'll still bruise you up. It doesn't feel good. So yeah, that kind of pushes the pace. And then the fights are forced to be finished faster, I think, a lot of times, because you have injured hands, you have bad cuts, busted eyes, busted orbitals, things like that. And I mean, that's what the tape and the gloves protects from happening, but it delays the end of the fight. I guess there's pros and cons because
I
the
enjoy it.
boxing model, you get more brain damage because it protects the gloves, protect more of your face and orbitals and hands, where the MMA gloves in the middle, you get middle protection from both, and then the bare knuckle. Like there was a fight last night or Friday night where the guy got popped, just grazed across the eye, and that was it. I was trashed.
I listen. I like Triad. I think that they might have the perfect combination of everything because it's that same dirty boxing aspect that you see in bare knuckle with the MMA style gloves in an even more enclosed area that pushes the action. Similar rounds. I dug the bare knuckle from the beginning just because. Again, you could see that some boxers were going to go in there and they were going to lose because they were used to point fighting and not letting people get inside. And the dirty boxing right away was showing, and the power that you couldn't get it broken up was cool. Again, I was always worried, well, a lot of these are ex-MMA guys. They're getting hit without gloves on top of it pretty quick and hard. When you're talking about Chris Lytle, he's calling them now. But then again, how many wars has he been that we've never seen, right? It's up to those guys. Tony Lopez, he's still fighting in the bare knuckle thing. He's got to be 40 plus with how many King of the Cage fights? So many. I mean, these guys. For the older crowd, I like things like Triad and maybe some celebrity boxing. With the young up and comers, I say that 30 to 40 range, and if you can get younger, but a lot of those guys are in their 30s. I think that's fine. I don't know what your opinion is.
I don't know. I mean, because the big problem is, the elephant in the room is UFC's monopoly on MMA, because these are all subsets of MMA, basically. It's either boxing or some form of MMA. That's kind of the way everybody looks at it, because you don't have any of the rules that apply for boxing apply to any other combat sport. The Ali Act doesn't protect any other sport from that. So you don't have guaranteed independent contractor status. And because of that, like the market's controlled. It's harder for promoters to get in and open shows and do shows because they can't get the top fighters. They can't build a fighter from beginner to champion. And it prevents a lot of fighters from getting to jump around and use their rank and their notoriety to continue to fight and make money, with whatever promoter is going to pay them. I think that's kind of forcing guys' hands into choosing a different niche, instead of having access to bigger fights and more opportunities in MMA. There's a lot of fighters that would rather just fight MMA and make a lot of money that are kind of being forced somewhere else because, bare knuckle has this niche market right now where they could probably pay a lot more for somebody like Thiago Alves for his bare knuckle fights rather than what he would make at Bellator.
And again, you're not wrong. It's tough. And now you're seeing more and more people go to Bellator because it's guaranteed money. Like, for instance, it's great that Gilbert Burns got his show and win money for that war because it was a war and a great fight with Makhachev. But for a fighter at that level, again, to have a show and win to even, clear a decent six-figure contract when these guys like Ari Emanuel are clearing $308 million.
Dude, the big news for last weekend was, we're going to give out $60,000 bonuses for crypto.com, our crypto.com deal. Well, some of the journalists like John Nash and the guys did the math, and it was like 4%. The fighters were seeing 4% of the deal.
Oh, really?
Yes. It came to like 12 shows where they're giving out 60 grand. So it was like $750,000 going to the fighters. The UFC ended up taking like 17 to 18 million dollars in the deal. So it's like they're getting crumbs. Like there's no reason the fighters shouldn't get 50% of that deal. Every other professional sport, that's how it goes. That's how it happens. it's 50% promotion or event provider or team owner, and 50% goes to the athletes, and that nothing is remotely close to that in MMA, and they're taunting you with it. Look at this deal. Look at this great deal we're giving them. It's bullshit. It's a bullshit deal. Like you're telling me that could be $1 million bonus, like that
The
bonus.
thing
They
is,
can
you and
afford
I
to pay
both
millions of
know
dollars.
the reason they don't
They
do
could
that,
they could
on top of
pay
controlling
$1
everything.
million a night in fighter of the night, fan approved fighter, and they would still be okay.
Well, again, they don't do it for all the reasons that you said, number one, right? Because if they start doing it, then it could break their monopoly because other promotions will get deals to do it.
They wouldn't get to pay off their EBT, whatever. Their debt is fast, and then they wouldn't get to have as big a boat.
Well, the other thing is,
wouldn't have as many prostitutes.
In that arena, you would also have people just laying off. Once like picking their fights again based on their status. Like look at the Diaz boys, right? They can basically do and say anything, and they can then pick a fight, and they realize they're such a draw that they're going to bring them back in. They don't want to create more of that because, again, more control goes to the fighters. I'm gonna shift gears into the thumbnail, John. Now that we've been talking, and by the way, the UFC was really fun this weekend. I had Miletich next to me. We were grilling. Good fights, a good main card. The future isn't human, and slavery is Denny's. Mark my words. Have you seen the new Denny's waitress or waitors, my friend?
Oh man.
No, you haven't, have you?
Mm-mm.
Well, let me show them to you. This is a nice little Denny's here in Anywhere America, because this is what's coming, guys. And then we're going to talk about this and a bunch of other stories and where technology's at, and a place called Reality.
Yo, check this out.
Oh, it only gave a piece of that. I guess it cut it off. I was wondering if it was going to do that because it said it was 59 seconds. But you get the gist, right? The Denny's robot is is now serving. Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. You are being fully automated out of the service industry at all levels by corporate America. And then, if you don't buy into the system, they plan on using rolling restrictions, not only lockdowns, okay? Don't get me wrong. They could play that card at any moment, and we'll get into that later in the uncensored part of the broadcast. But through new health regulations. What do I mean by new health regulations? Well, instead of locking down cities, states, etc., they will pass laws through the EPA and others, or regulations, where you will have to pay exorbitant fees to remodel your establishments in order to have service-type industries like this, like a pizza shop, okay, like a diner, that will be so expensive that so many people are just going to drop out right there. And that's going to be a cut of you. That'll be one layer of it. And then these automations where you're still paying waitresses, that they're no longer going to have that large gap between servers, right? and other jobs where they can pay them less because they're making tips. Well, those people are going to get cut out. And that's just the beginning. We're talking about hamburger flipping, pizza making. Domino's is always going to be up to the standard. McDonald's is always going to be up to the standard. Do you get it? Yeah, mom and pop shops are not. And I mean, what's your thought on the Denny's waiter or waitress? It's the best, huh?
It sounds. I've been saying this for a long time, man. I prefer, and I have preferred, to deal with people. I'd rather talk to a person. And I whether it's getting your ticket to get on the plane, they started doing that with the planes a long time ago, and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I'd always get in line to talk to somebody, because I'm a human being and I want to talk to people. And I know what the large scale economic effect is. You stop giving people jobs, you have more homeless people, you have more people in need, you have higher taxes because now you need the government to take care of those people who don't have jobs. Like, people need a purpose, people need something to do. Let them check your goddamn bags in. I don't need that much of a convenience. It's not that big of a deal. I'd rather talk to a nice, pleasant person who's supporting their family and having a nice day and has good benefits or whatever from their job. That would be much nicer. I think that would be a better world. I don't need to talk to robots all the time. I don't need drones dropping food off for me, isolating me from every single human being around. I think that's what that's one of the things that's going to split cultures apart and whatever around the U.S. is there are people who are just like not going to be a part of that robot world. They're not going to want to go to the restaurants or the bars or give money to anything that has automation.
Man, I hope you're right, because this generation is being led into the metaverse, the universe. How do I say this? The metaverse, the multiverse, the simulation verse, the godless, soulless, transhumanist fourth industrial revolution, and through a parade of lies, bro.
They're all gonna be stuck in pods, eating bugs, watching porn, and playing video games, and then we can play on our awesome toys on our farms.
I mean, listen, I'm trying to become more and more rural. I am by no means a Luddite, but again, we're actually going to play some transhumanist stuff here. And what something Yuval Harari says about gender. I wouldn't dare say what Yuval Harari says about gender on this platform, because Yuval Harari actually talks about the malleability of such things. I don't even know if that's allowed on YouTube. I certainly wouldn't talk about anything like that. The malleability of gender and persuasion, if you don't understand what that means. Let's get into some technology news, okay? So one of the big things that I saw the media pumping up this week, John, was the new disclosure of all this UFO stuff. Remember that? Oh, we've got more UFO stuff, and oh, look at this. Soldiers had Havana syndrome, and they had radiation burns, and they had all this sickness after closely encountering these things. What I really want to point out to everybody is that, once again, if you think that rockets are our only propulsion systems and that they're, telling you the truth about everything, just take a look here at this here. This is 1959, okay? Let me repeat that. This is 1959. In the 60s, the CIA, via what? Area 51, were testing all sorts of things that we now know about that were going, again, 60,000 feet in the air. The ox cart. And that is what, quote-unquote, commercial space travel is. Other than Inspiration 4, which supposedly went into low Earth orbit. Okay, I want to make everybody very clear where we're at. That was 1959. Do I have to explain anything else? I mean, you get the significance of that, John, that obviously there is a multitude of technology that they are not sharing with us. Elon Musk, once again, is not a good person. They're, he's going to do a hostile takeover. No, he's a DARPA frontman. If you think that they let the guy that's going to save the world for free speech make out the best out of all the billionaires over COVID, he increased his wealth by 600%. Bezos, he increased his wealth quite a bit as well, okay? So did Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and Larry Page and Sergey Brin. But nobody topped the Musker-Do. Oh, it's not because he's a brilliant man, okay? I assure you guys. So, people have to grow up. They should read Annie Jacobson's book, at least Area 51, but The Pentagon's Brain, DARPA, you name it. It's time to realize that we're not in Kansas anymore, especially with that. All right, let's bang into a next story here, John. I'm sure you heard about this one. This shows just how reliable the FBI are.
Jesus.
So
These guys, CIA, FBI, are one of the most criminal gangs that we've seen since the 70s. 100%. The crack cocaine epidemic, all the drug smuggling, crap, opium, toppling regime change, killing people, killing economies, just horrendous. And then we have our wonderful FBI, who's been setting up mildly retarded single ostracized men for terror attacks for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and you know what? I haven't even gotten into the quote-unquote vanilla ISIS story and the Pakistani ISI people that infiltrated the Secret Service. That'll probably be another broadcast. Again, guys, it's been tough for me to read, right? And that's the toughest thing for me because, that's my day, John, is me going through news stories and reading through these. So I've been listening to a lot of other history and lectures and stuff like that. But obviously I can't listen to the news because the news is always a condensed version of what they leave out in the article, right? So just like when you started reading into what was really going on in the Michigan Governor Whitmer case, you realized that these people had been set up. So nobody got convicted in that case. Two were found not guilty. And then the others, we had a hung jury on. And I can guarantee you guys, more than likely, if it goes to court again, if they decide to try it again, which they may, it'll either be a hung jury or a not guilty. That's how this works. Okay? That's how this works.
The jury did not believe. American people did not believe that the FBI was telling the truth in their testimonies. That's what it came down to. People in the United States do not trust the FBI. Okay?
No.
That's where we're at.
Nor should they. And remember, there will be a safe and effective part of the broadcast only at the Rockfin, or you can listen to it on Podbean. We'll also see if we have any callers. Get that Podbean app for this. So, Matt Gaetz made a big show. This was also on the news a couple weeks ago. Okay, he made a big show where he's like, China's beating us in hypersonic weapons. Rah! What are we doing? Again, that's nonsense. Again, that's fantasy world. That's for you to believe that we haven't been doing this for years and years and years. So once again, Annie Jacobson put this out to Matt Gaetz. Dear Representative Matt Gaetz, hypersonic weapons and DARPA's work in that area. They've been working on them for years, decades at least, okay? We're talking in 2013, they had the seminal hypersonic low Earth orbit drones, okay? That's public record. We're dominating them, okay? We're dominating them. Whatever they have, we've developed, and I'm not saying they're not very developed. But again, it's less about nation states now. It's more about these corporations that then control them with the military industrial complex that has made it more important than the nation state. Now we're going to get into, let me look through these quick. Make sure you know what? We're going to do a John Fitch tweet. So, Fitch, you put this out here. Why don't you let it speak for yourself? This was the fake or the disinformation conference.
The guy was up there. I can't even remember who he was, but he was saying that he didn't believe in any way that saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was fake and not real news and not covering it, and not putting it out there in any way. He's saying that in no way affected the election at all. He's saying that the guy running for president of the United States, like just right before, leading up to the final vote, people find out that guy's son is a pedophile.
Stop. Alleged. We don't want to get kicked off for disinformation or cyberbullying.
Yes.
I just want to say that. Alleged recently by someone who claims to have the laptop that the Daily Mail actually
And there's even more
vindicated.
videos and pictures and all kinds of crap. And on top of that, there's a bunch of things linking the guy running for president to, crooked business deals. I think that would possibly affect a lot of people's judgment in voting. I think so. I think a lot.
I mean, again, you're thinking too much. You're thinking beyond a narrative that we're being sold, John. And I don't know if I care for it.
No, I mean, they all know. They all collectively know what they did. They all know it doesn't matter. We just had to get out Trump. That's all. Because it made me upset because my delicate sensibilities. He upset my sensitive sensibilities. So we had to get Trump out no matter what monster, no matter what failed piece of garbage got put in. Like, they knew what they were doing.
So this is an open secret, and they put this out there because I think it's really important, and I think they're a great resource to understand. If you're not concerned what your kids are learning or who they're around in schools, you don't understand how it works. Predators work in schools. Dennis Hassert, and that's where we're going to go from this. All these are just different school teachers and administrators.
I started watching that Jimmy Seville show last night.
Oh boy,
And
you watched some of that, huh?
He got himself posted up around a bunch of 13-year-old girls.
Yes. So Dennis Hassert, again, he didn't even do the 15 months, guys. Got out in 3. He didn't do any time for child molestation, even though the judge labeled him, and this is, quote, a serial child molester.
15 months.
No, dude, he didn't even get...
How is this not obvious to anybody by now? How is this not obvious?
Let me just read.
That these people are all in on it together. These are all disgusting, gross people. If a judge is looking at another man he called a serial child rapist.
Yes.
He's like, you're the scum of the earth, you serial child rapist. 15 months. Like, what?
So
what? Like, where's like the horses pulling his arms and legs apart? Where he's drawn? Shouldn't he be drawn and quartered or something?
Again, we don't advocate violence here. I just want to say that's John, not me.
George P.O.
And
Yeah.
and again, I don't want my YouTube channel taken. We'll get to the heavy duty part of this. Maybe we should just get safe and effective right now. We're almost 40 minutes in. But you know what? Because I want to let John go off. I just want to say right here, we are not advocating violence. I advocate especially for these people who are convicted of sexually abusing children to be put in prison forever. They don't get out. There is no, hey, they can be rehabilitated. If you molest a child, that's it. It's over.
You're
done. Okay? So that's where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do for the safe and effective section. A lot more. We got COVID cases that are apparently rising in New York, LA, and San Francisco. We'll get to what that's going to mean for people. We're going to be talking maybe about the world government and how they just opened up with their glee of the New World Order. This is another open secret story. Janus Sports and Entertainment. This is a guy who... Yep, you know about it. We're talking about that. We certainly can't play the halls of government here. Thomas Massey, basically... Let's not let FBI label mothers domestic terrorists for you-know-what opposition. We can't even say that on this broadcast. I want to shout out to Tyler Hudak for that one. We'll talk about this transhumanism and gender.
Oh, that creepy guy.
Oh, yeah. And then this is the last part before we get safe and effective. Please comply with you-know-what restrictions. Control your soul's desire for freedom. Are we really that far away? No, we saw similar things happening in New York City. We've seen similar things in Singapore. So, guys, again, Dennis Hassert started molesting children when he was a 4th grade gym teacher. Okay? He made it all the way to a senator and the longest-serving Republican Speaker of the House. He never got convicted of those crimes. When he did get convicted of a crime, they gave him 15 months, and he was out in 12 or 13. Just think about how that works. If you want to watch the rest of this broadcast, You can listen to it over at the Podbean, which is the Info Warrior, or you can come over to rokfin.com/Jason Bermas, where we are 53,000 plus strong now, John. It's pretty good, huh? It's not too shabby.
Thanks.
And I know
Nice.
you're over there as well. So YouTube,
I'm getting close to 12,000.
boom, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
Good
we will
stuff.
see YouTube later, and let's get into Safe and Effective. And we're off the tube.